you're with us live, go ahead and share this link. Click that like button. Help us defeat the greatest enemy in all of wrestling media, the algorithms. This is WrestleZone live after Survivor Series. I am not alone here tonight. Joining me, the boys who covered this week's Smackdown. Check out the Smackdown Double Down. We have that every Friday night for you. Following Smackdown, Colin Tessier, John Clark. How you doing, guys? I'm Kev Kellum. We are live after Survivor Series, a very noteworthy Survivor Series. A lot of big things happened on tonight. Don't know how much this set up for the future big period of WWE, but certainly a noteworthy show. There were some very, very newsworthy things on here, and we want to know what you're thinking about the show. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. So many more people listening to the podcast in Australia, Singapore. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Give us your thoughts. Hit us up on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. All right, if you're with us live here on YouTube or Facebook, fire off your comments, get them on screen. We want to know what you think. Give us the 1 to 10 on what you thought of Survivor Series. Was it great? A show longer than 3 hours. Most recent WWE pay-per-views have been around 3 hours flat. The show was about 3 hours and 45 minutes and change, about that time. But I think there's going to be a lot of people with mean things to say about the show, and there's going to be some people with some good things to say about this show. But let's get into the thing that ended the show. The thing that ended the show was not a match. It was not a title bout. It was the final farewell of The Undertaker, one of the most beloved characters in all of wrestling history, not just WWE, but obviously, you just want to talk WWE. He's on that short list of, you think, characters in WWE. He's up there. I mean, he's in that list with Austin and Rock and Hogan and Ric Flair. He's on that very, very short list of the greatest of all time. John Clark, is this the end of The Undertaker? Because it seemed like it was. A lot of superstars came out. Vince McMahon had an emotional introduction for him. Metallica did the soundtrack for it. He had an epic entrance. Tesla coils. Who gets Tesla coils, John? All right, I got to unmute you. That's important, right? Who gets Tesla coils, John?
Well, apparently Undertaker gets what he wants, and I agree that he definitely fits into the spectrum with Rock, Stone Cold, Ric Flair, all those guys. I truly think that this is the end for Undertaker. So I thought it was very interesting, and I thought it was a pretty cool way to send him off.
What'd you think, Colin?
I love the Undertaker, but that was pretty underwhelming to me. Because I that's what I thought it would be, just not. I was expecting more of that. Like we had a solid 15 minutes of entrances, like a 5-minute video package. And then he, I think, said maybe 2 sentences. And granted, he's never been the guy to kind of give you this long speech, but if that is the actual goodbye, I would have hoped for a lot more. But at this point, it very well might be the end. I think we can keep hoping that he'll be back for the potential show that we have fans again, but there's no way to know when that would be. So for all intents and purposes, this is probably it, at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe at some point they bring him back, but if that's it, then that's it, and that's fine, right? So, it was what it was. But I thought it felt a little flat overall.
Let's see what fans are thinking. Garrett Spears, hashtag farewell The Undertaker. It was a fun 30 years representing my generation of wrestling fans. Now I can truly say my childhood has come to an end. It's quite a comment. I mean, I think for hardcore fans, there may have been a lot of casual fans who haven't watched in a few years and maybe said, you know what, I'll check this out. I think there are some fans that did do that. And if not, maybe they got the network because all the retrospective content they were doing with The Undertaker this month. He did Hot Ones this week. Do not take that for granted. Hot Ones is a very popular show. 3 million people watched that just on YouTube, and probably millions more in clips and other things like that. So WWE did the media blitz with him this week. There is another Stone Cold special session with him on right now. A lot of stuff for him. So, I mean, if you wanted that stuff, you kind of almost got all of it in these other segments. We'll run down the rest of Survivor Series. A really, really great match between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. Really the match of the night. Bianca Belair impressed in the Women's Elimination Survivor Series match, but she was not the sole survivor. Oh, no. Lana is the best. Lana does nothing, but she is number one. The men had their Survivor Series match. Team Raw can't get along, but they found a way to win it. We'll get into all these different matches. We'll want your comments on screen and a whole lot more. If you haven't done it yet, share the link, get on screen. All the new people watching the show, obviously after pay-per-views, we always tend to have more people watching the show. Subscribe to the podcast. You get all these shows. We do hours of content every single week. We have what has been described a Patreon's worth of content for you to devour every single week. Over 10 hours of audio and video for free every single week. And it has your comments on screen. You guys drive the conversation. It's the most interactive wrestling media out there. Josh Goddard saying he liked the farewell, saying it was short and sweet. That's how the dead man is. It's true. He was never long for words. It was fitting the way he said it. He goes on to say, definitely saw him get emotional. I don't know if you could tell that the Undertaker was emotional. It's kind of hard to tell with all the dark lighting and stuff like that. And other people loving the main event. They thought that was great. Feeling this. Herman Jakar saying, Taker is my favorite wrestler since his debut. Thank you, Taker, for all the great years. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, he doesn't need to wrestle anymore. I think I'm okay with that. I say that as a fan, too. I say that as someone who, went to SummerSlam 94 and saw that epic entrance, and it was one of those formative. And when I saw that entrance at 94, and he took on the fake Undertaker, not even a great Undertaker match, I saw that. I was immediately like, I'm going to love this guy forever. Like, I'm never not going to love this character. And I think when you have a character that has lasted that long, that means so much to people, even if he's not one of the greatest of all time, that stands with people. I mean, could you be disappointed if you're an Undertaker fan by this, John, tonight? Because it seems like you felt underwhelmed by this.
I didn't feel underwhelmed by it. That was Colin. Personally, me.
Did it deliver for you, though? Did it feel like it worked for you?
It worked for me. Like I said, there was some nitpicky stuff that I would address, like the entrances of the people before Undertaker came out, and then they just magically disappeared after McMahon came out. That was kind of pointless to have them come out just to stand there. Undertaker's entrance was his entrances are always long, but I felt that this was pretty long. And then one thing I wanted to mention, besides the fact that I do think he will be in the Hall of Fame and he'll be back with fans to give maybe a longer speech, but there was a comment over there by William T. Wages a couple minutes ago that
a
I
lot
really
of comments
liked.
Here, guys. I don't mind a lot of comments.
So,
if you're with us for the first time, get your comments on screen, guys. Go ahead.
And what he said was that the way that Undertaker gave this promo and delivered it basically was him making it clear that it was time for the dead man to rest in peace. However, the American Badass could potentially still have some things in store. And I do think the wording of this promo, him saying the dead man, is time for him to rest in peace. Look, I don't like to read a lot into things like this, but the door is still open for that if they so choose. Regardless of that, I thought the promo did deliver. I do wish he would have talked a little more, but that's his character. The video package was really good. Having all those superstars come out, a little underwhelming for me, but all in all, to end the show, to possibly end this career, I thought it was a very, very well done job. And if we're talking about people getting emotional, you could definitely tell that Vince McMahon was getting emotional in the ring.
Yes. Yeah, and it was pretty clear. I had some people on our Facebook. I posted a picture of him when he was in the ring, and he had a little flub where he said WWF Universe, whatever. I heard some people hound him for that.
I think that was intentional.
You did. Listen, guys. He's been sitting in a gorilla position on a headset for 5, maybe 8 hours. Okay. He's a man in his 70s. He created this whole thing.
This is his baby.
People just lined up. They lined up like flies on a piece of shit to just try and get on this guy for this. And I saw that on Twitter, and I was like, you aren't paying attention to what this is. Like, here is him saying, all right, if this is the end, this is one of the greatest guys I've been able to promote my entire career. And I'm so thankful. And his character will live eternally. This is that's like Stan Lee saying Spider-Man's gonna live forever. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing, So it's a pretty big deal here. A lot of people with different takes here chiming in. Sean Luddy wants to talk about the Paul Bearer hologram. There was a Paul Bearer. I thought this was pretty cool. They did spend a lot of money on the entrance for this. I'll show an image of this for you guys watching on screen. This was pretty cool. I like this. This was fun. The entrance was very epic. If it was just all glitz and glamour, the entrance on this was really, really cool. Tesla coils, tons of pyro, the platform that raised him to the ring. They really used the sense of the Thunderdome being all, for lack of a better smoke and magic. They Undertaker's smoking magic. You know what I mean? That's a lot of what he is. Then the bell rings and he has a great match. I was into that. I thought it was cool. I enjoyed that part of the show. I know everyone said, "Oh, why don't they do a Paul Bearer hologram when they put him in the Hall of Fame or something like that?" They've always said, like, ever since Paul passed away, and the thing is, for anyone else, this may be like weird, but it's the Undertaker, so it's like, yeah, this is a guy who's been buried alive. Got out of a grave.
Did they do this like the Super Bowl with like Prince a couple years ago when he was?
They were talking about it, and they did like a projection.
Okay.
So there was a rumor that got out. I think it was the year he passed away.
Yeah.
That Justin Timberlake was going to do something like that. And then he played like a little bit of like Purple Rain.
Yep.
They had like a projection of him.
Because this is something that's pretty popular. Like I remember a couple years after Michael Jackson died, they did like a full out tour where it was just a hologram of him. And
they were planning on doing it. I think something legally got in the way of that. Yes.
Well, they did at least a few shows. I know that for sure.
But yeah, they spent some money on this thing, man. Tesla coils, live electricity, like that plays his theme song. Like, so if you're a fan of all that stuff, you gotta love it. But Rick Carpenter saying Undertaker can't live forever. He's already dead. that makes complete sense here. But Colin, what do you think? Is he done? Do you do anything else with the Undertaker?
I mean, I was honestly like so underwhelmed. I hadn't even like read into the whole let the Undertaker rest in peace, but bring back the American Badass and stuff like that. So if anything, I could definitely see that, that does definitely open the door for one more match of some sort, if it's another Boneyard like match, which we've talked about before. But that's probably the best path forward at this point. With who knows, but
he's earned that.
Yeah,
I'll say that. I think for other people, it may feel like cheating. I've heard some people say that, and Undertaker to himself is he's alluded to the interviews since he's been back. He even said kind of in the last ride, he's like, this isn't the match I want to go out on, because I'd like to do it with a crowd. It feels like cheating. And some people took that and interpreted it as, well, you're doing it because we can pre-film everything and you can take breaks. And they shot that match for 12 hours. He clearly taking breaks. It's not the same physical thing as going out to the ring, bell to bell, do it in 45 minutes and be this superb athletic performer. But the fact of the matter is, this man has an artificial hip. He has a torn rotator cuff. He's broken his eye socket 2 or 3 times. He's gone through so many things physically that if he told you them, he would probably forget most of it. He's probably broken almost any bone you would think that would end anyone else's career. But this is entertainment. And I think he could do more Boneyard matches if they wanted to do them. And if that's the thing you want to do. And also, he's the character where you could do a cinematic match and it works. He's a cinematic character. So it's not like it's out of line for them to do it. And also, if anyone's earned that rare stage and the pass, if you will, it's the Undertaker. Like, there's no one more respected than him. He stayed with the company the entire time. He didn't go to WCW, so I'm with it. Let's get into Survivor Series. I thought the farewell was what it is. I think the real farewell is the Hall of Fame. I think Undertaker's Hall of Fame is going to blow this out of the water if you're a hardcore fan. When they do his Hall of Fame, do you think he should be the only guy inducted? Like, I keep thinking that to myself. Like, if they do a Hall of Fame with him, I was like, the whole night should just be the Undertaker goes in the Hall of Fame. And everyone comes out and gives a speech about the Undertaker. Am I wrong about that, Colin?
I'd like to see that, at least, rather than like filling the whole ceremony up with, the kind of the second tier people that aren't headliners. I think that would be a nice way to kind of shake up this Hall of Fame formula, because they obviously do that all the time, where it's like a headliner and then these.
And that's a ticket you want to buy then too.
Yeah.
If you travel out for that, you want to go to that, and treat that like something here. Other people with different takes here. Let's get into the card. I keep getting away with it. We've done about 13 minutes here on the show, but obviously this will be something we'll be talking about this week coming up in the WrestleZone wrap up. We are live after Raw. All right, we're going to be doing that tomorrow. We do shows in the afternoons on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday, we're after AEW and NXT. Now, MLW is also on Wednesday, so we have to start covering that. So much wrestling. Terrell Diggs saying, Survivor Series is not a bad show. Give us your 1 to 10. I'll get that from you guys before we get through the whole card here. Let's jump right into it. Show starts with a men's elimination Survivor Series match. Team Raw versus Team Smackdown. Who would survive? Almost all of I believe all of Team Raw survived, and Jey Uso is left in the end. He tried to fend it off for a while. Pretty compelling ending, because Jey Uso is disappointing his family yet again, and Roman Reigns is his overbearing, just mean, my manipulating cousin now, and I'm the head of the. If you don't win this match, you're out of the family. and he told him to leave the arena, but he didn't leave the arena. If you don't know that was Matt afterwards, later on in the night. I do enjoy this storyline. It did make sense for Jey Uso. I was surprised that Team Raw won. What did you think of this opener, John?
I thought it was the match itself was pretty good.
It was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was great. It was pretty good, though.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was you or Colin that we talked about this earlier this week. I think it was you, Kevin, about how Team Raw could magically just decide to get along tonight. Was that you that said that, or was that Colin that said that?
Probably me.
I think it was you. But anyways, that's exactly what happened. I mean, they got along tonight, and they weren't really fighting each other. So kudos to whoever predicted that. But the match itself, I mean, I was hoping at least somebody from Raw would have got eliminated. But you know, there is a way that they can hopefully try to build off of this tomorrow on Raw. Now, what I think we're going to see is that classic a 2-on-2 match between guys that were in this match or something, because they always disintegrate tonight after the show. Like, they forget that they were a team. Let's not forget the final score tonight was 4-3, that Raw won. Exactly as I said, Colin. You can back that up.
It's true.
Who got eliminated on Team Raw? Because I just watched 3 hours.
Nobody did. Raw.
Nobody did.
All 5 were left at the end.
Yeah, so that is something to be said, and Jey Uso could say, "Well, I was the one who actually lasted till the end." You know, you'll have people say that. There is a way with this to kind of do that when people don't win the Royal Rumble, but I eliminated this many guys. You know, like there's always.
Did anybody on Team Smackdown really make an impact or like made them any more relevant tonight? It was nobody besides maybe Jey Uso. They all looked weak.
Laura Locke loved the show. She gives it a 10 out of 10. She really enjoyed this show. And Jimmy Godsey did not like it. He said it was lackluster. 4 at best. 4 at best. So you guys are getting a rate here. So 10, obviously really good. 4, not so good. Not so good. Usually we tend to rate shows pretty middle. You got to earn your 10 on this show, I think. It's rare, like a Meltzer 5-star classic. So let's also get into the women's elimination match. We don't go follow the show by order. If something is not irrelevant on the show, we likely don't talk about it. So I don't think we have to do that, but we have to talk about this match. Women's Elimination Chamber match. I thought this was significantly better than the men's. I thought this was more compelling. I thought this told a better story. It made sense when Lana was dismissed from the Raw apron and told to sit and stand and don't get in the ring. Why did you even get in the ring? Because they've been smashing her through the table, and she's just a loser who somehow found her way onto this, and Nia's just going to smash her through the table, right? But obviously, foreshadowing is she's going to find a way to win this whole thing, and that is what's happening. This is a ridiculous match, but it does tell a lot of different stories. There were a couple little botcheroonies, but nothing super huge. I think Natalya was trying to put some type of hold on Peyton Royce, but it wasn't clear what it was. But everybody looked cool. I like Peyton Royce doing the suplex to Bayley off the top, clearing out everyone. I thought that was really cool. And everyone who got eliminated did look like a jabroni, like Liv Morgan trying to fire up and say, "Bring it, bitch," to Nia Jax, only to be squashed by Nia Jax. And also, Nia Jax didn't want to wear red. Everyone on her team was wearing bright red, and she just had a little bit of red. I'm sorry, I don't know if you know how sororities work, but when it's Pledge Week, we all wear matchy-matchy. Okay, we wear pink on Fridays. Immediately made me think of Mean Girls. Colin, what do you think of this match? Bianca Belair had a fun show at the end, but it really didn't matter. A double count out. Nia's bounced over the barrier, and Lana just walks into the ring and wins this thing. A ridiculous ending, still an entertaining match. I may piss some people off on that, but let's see what people say in the chat. What do you say?
No, I'm right with you. I thought it was definitely much more entertaining in terms of the in-ring stuff, the story it told in the men's match. A little weird ending, as you said, that we had this double count out. John definitely had predicted it for a while now that Lana would be the last woman surviving, and she was. And there you have it. As we've been talking about for weeks now, who knows where it's going to go? But good for Lana there. And definitely with Bianca Belair having kind of like a Keith Lee run did last year. I mean, where she really did shine the most, and I hope to see that she'll kind of get the spotlight here going forward with SmackDown, because she definitely looked the most impressive in this match. And the most weird moment had to be Bayley getting eliminated by Peyton Royce. Like, I did not get that at all. Like, they did not build up to that. They didn't really tease it at all. They didn't do anything with it. I don't see it doing anything for Peyton, fortunately. Probably more of a shock value moment than anything, but definitely good for Bianca. I was very happy to see that. And no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid.
Get your piece in there, John Clark.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I do think that, like as predicted, Lana would be the last one standing, but I did not predict that she would literally do nothing the entire match and we would have a double count out.
I mean,
However,
she did get in the ring. She
She
did get
did.
in the ring and do some physicality to
yeah,
line
yeah,
up with, hey, what are you even doing? You know, why are you even getting in there? You know,
this has to go somewhere for her. They cannot just like basically drop this and forget that it ever happened. She has
it
from
foreshadows the
doing
Royal Rumble to me. If they do this same type of thing at the Royal Rumble and tease it until the end, I think that could be a
from
really cool. Because here's the thing, that with the women, there's a lot of characters where people get into this camp, and you see it online, especially with a lot of female fans and younger fans. They get into a camp with a woman, and that is a woman they like, and that is it. And anyone else they like sucks. All right. And I like that because that's traditional fandom. They're not jaded. They just like their wrestlers. That's who they like. And if their wrestler doesn't win, this show sucks, but I'm still going to tune next week. And this sucks. And I'm Sasha Banks, Banks all the way, Banks baby. I'm Banks girl, Roman's girl, baby 69 Twitter handle. All right, we've seen it all. Okay, if Lana keeps doing that with Lana's social media following, this is a smart thing because it stirs
they have
the pot.
they
You're getting worked, everybody. That's what wrestling is. You don't
they
like
have
getting
a
worked, but you
sneaky
got worked.
way. They have a sneaky way of doing stuff. Like they just released a Chronicle episode about her. Check out WrestleZone.com, an article I posted earlier today. Lana was talking about her mental health struggles this year,
Mhm.
being separated from Myro. I think that sometimes people take these things for granted and think that they're just a joke. She's really been having a hard time with this
Mhm.
past year, and in a positive way, they've storylined this around her struggles and she's starting to get momentum. Now, she hasn't really gotten too much in ring time, so we can't really be sure, how much is she improving in the ring. If we're listening to what Myro says, she's been working her ass off. So if she has been, I'm not ready to say that Lana could win the Royal Rumble because I simply just don't see that happening.
I
But
definitely think after tonight they tease that.
they
I
are
definitely
definitely
they if they don't have her win it, they're definitely going to have her in the final four
Raw
of the women's
needs
Royal
more
Rumble.
Raw needs more women star power, and I think Lana, with the following she has, can deliver. And I'm curious to see, what they do with her. Is she going to go through a table tomorrow? That's what I want to know because I feel like she's going to. Nia Jax is going to be out for her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big time.
the fact that Nia Jax is absolutely going to be out for her. Vernon with a great comment here. I'm surprised Asuka lost to Sasha Banks. That was the other match. They were kind of slotted. This was my issue with Survivor Series going into it. Is a lot of the matches were slotted, and it didn't feel like you had a bunch of storyline that built up to matches. Though, as you saw at the women's match, they worked in what was going on in Raw into this match, and it made sense, and it definitely was pivotal in the ending of the match. Also, shout out to Bianca Belair. She looked fantastic in that match. I do think this is another example of somebody being able to impress and win on the big stage. She looked great. She didn't lose. She got counted out. Like, you know what I mean? That's the way I felt about it. That bump that Nia took over the barrier was really cool. It was. I know people are mad about the ridiculous booking. It ruins it. It doesn't ruin it. Stop. Get over yourself. I didn't decide that booking. I thought of this in my private Facebook thread, and they didn't put that on the screen. Why? I have another one of those. I have another one of those. I'm angry my fantasy booking hasn't been fulfilled by a giant corporation. Let's get to this. So, Asuka versus Sasha Banks. I thought this was a really solid match. We've seen a lot of Asuka versus Sasha before. This was a lot of back and forth action. A good roll up at the end. Good old Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat type ending. Colin, what did you think of this? I didn't think this was a barn burner, but I did think it was better than the women's Elimination Chamber match or Elimination Tag match earlier in the night.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can always say. They're two of the best women wrestlers in the world, and definitely on WWE roster. And I really enjoyed it in the sense that obviously it was a really good match. But I think especially because we have seen this so much this year, some of that kind of the luster is gone, where it's like it's not this spectacle,
Mm-hmm.
and instead it's just kind of a little more regular because we saw it at SummerSlam, we saw it at Extreme Rules. I think even Backlash back in June is like over and over again, and on Raw. And WWE does that a lot, where they'll just kind of give away these special matches, and then they try to have this. They try to have the cake and eat it too, I guess. Where they, now you've got a pay-per-view and it's supposed to be a big match, and it's not. I thought it would have been a good chance to kind of work in some of the storytelling in terms of the general show, whether that was Carmella coming down or, I mean, Asuka's been doing nothing on Raw at this point, and that's really just mind-boggling because they haven't really given her a storyline other than
she's the Raw Women's Champion and she has great matches. But with WWE, it's not like other promotions where you can have a great match and that's your story. She needs something a little bit more. And also, I think she does enough with the limitations she has. Does she speak fluent English? No, but how much charisma does this woman have? I mean, it is unboundful. Like she has no limits in terms of what she can do in these segments where you see, she's still learning English. She's been in the country a couple of years. I know this from talking to people who've done comedy. I have friends that do comedy that speak Spanish and Japanese, and they're like, it was really, really hard when I got to the United States to make my jokes work like this. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, that makes complete sense. But I think she's gonna be fine. It was a roll-up pin. It wasn't no one. That's another thing. She didn't get chopped out. Another title versus title match. Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley. And his Hurt Business in his corner, United States champion versus Intercontinental champion. The assumption, John, was that Sami Zayn was just going to get ran over like a bulldozer. He was just going to get crushed. And they almost made that the joke of the match. This was the comedy match of the night. They really drove it up. They had a short, little, fun match where Sami Zayn was constantly trying to get the Hurt Business to interfere and get him the win and get out of the ring and constantly try and like goad them on, like, hit me, come on, hit me. If you hit me, then it's over with, And then he tried to just get out of the ring and get counted out and purposely tripped himself on MVP's foot, only to be thrown back in the ring when the ref's back was turned and be put in the full Nelson and tap, tap, tap. This is over. This was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be. It was a lot more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. John Clark, do you mind having your expectations exceed a little bit, or was this just what you thought it was going to be?
I would say it was a mix in between. I was definitely expecting Bobby Lashley to win easily. I feel like he did, but I feel like it went on longer than it probably should have or could have, I guess, in a way. I don't see how this helps either of them, and I don't see how this hurts either of them. It was just kind of an obligation match that they have to have because you have to have those two champions square off. That's just how it's been for a couple years now. I am more interested in turning my attention into what each of these superstars do next. Because with Sami Zayn, there are a plethora of options for him, but who feuds with him next is a huge question that I can name at least 4 to 5 people that would deserve that spot. But as far as tonight goes, he's shown that he's good in the ring. His promo skills are good. He's worth more than what they're using him for.
Mm-hmm. Jordy Nolan texting in here. I love that name, Jordy. That's a UK name. Jordy, are you from the UK? I love when we have people overseas. If you are, you're staying up real late. I appreciate that. A lot of matches didn't have good storylines or any at all, but the matches overall surprisingly delivered. Pretty good pay-per-view overall. Isn't that a general notion that we've gotten here, John? You've done the pay-per-view post shows with me, Colin. I think you've done one. If this isn't your first. Yeah. Isn't that that's been the MO for WWE for 2020? I think it's been everyone's like bitching, pay-per-view happens. It was a good show. Bitching, pay-per-view happens. It was a great show. Bitching, Extreme Rules.
Well,
that sucked. But like outside of that, there's a lot of times when they get to these network shows and you get what you want. I could see with this show where people were expecting some type of angle with the Undertaker and they didn't get it, and you got what you were advertised, but you didn't follow my predictions on the internet, like that type of thing. And I take it as it is. I thought this show was fun. We haven't gotten to our ratings yet, but that tends to be the notion, right, John? Especially in recent months.
Yeah, I would agree, especially in recent months. SummerSlam, Clash of Champions, Hell in a Cell.
Those are all great shows.
I didn't shows too.
I didn't read any bad reviews. I would hear people say, "Well, it was a great show, but this sucked," or "It was a great show, but I wanted this thing to happen and it didn't happen." Stop doing that, by the way. Okay.
Yeah,
your fantasy booking is just that. It's fantasy booking.
I would have to agree that Extreme Rules is probably the last time that people were really like, "Well, this pay-per-view is absolutely horrible."
Yeah, where it was like a universal letdown for them.
All of the takeovers and main roster pay-per-views since that point have delivered, and I feel like that if we're going to get a dud anytime soon, it probably would be Tables, Ladders, and Chairs in December, just because they only have a month from now to build up to it, and it's that kind of that bridge to the Royal Rumble where it's kind of like filler stuff. So let's see what they do
And
the next
we'll
couple weeks.
have some. I think we'll have a Royal Rumble match announced before we even get to that pay-per-view. You know,
Before
of some
TLC, you
kind.
mean?
Yeah. Before you get to TLC, they'll announce something for the Royal Rumble just to get people, especially if they're going to sell some tickets for it. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
we
see,
know
that's
they're
the thing.
moving
I
to
think they're
Tropicana
waiting on
Field.
that right now. They're waiting to see if we're going to have fans before they start going all out with the advertising.
And with the pandemic, it's a really fluid situation right now. It's really bad. It's bad. I'm not denying reality that's out there, but we know the vaccines are coming. And I know people are asking, is Wrestle, especially they tune in for the big pay-per-view post shows. We don't know where things stand for WrestleMania. All we know is there is talk that they could postpone it by about 5 weeks to try and get more fans at the show. That's the latest we've heard. We have that up for you right now at WrestleZone. Let's continue to run down this card. People saying Sammy is great. Daniel Bryan becomes the next IC champ. I could absolutely see that if we have a future for Sami Zayn. Daniel Bryan, hell of another main event this past week. I know you guys enjoyed that on SmackDown. That was a solid match. I'm a big Daniel Bryan mark. I don't care about saying he's my favorite guy. And other people, different takes here about the show. Jordy saying not even from the UK, from the States, adopted, but originally from Honduras. All right, well, okay. I was completely different content. Jordy texted to the show earlier. I love that. Shout out where you guys are watching from, by the way. If you're watching for the first time, I want to see where everyone's checking the show out from. Glenn Richardson saying, good show, but the 5-on-5 entrances were too long. Sometimes with the entrances, especially in those matches, it tends to be a little bit long. So it felt like they were speeding up the SmackDown one when they were all got together at the front of the entrance. It's like, let's pick this up, guys. Let's get this thing done. And let's get to the another big, I think, standout match on this show was the SmackDown Tag Team Champions versus the Raw Tag Team Champions. New Day comes out with Big E in their corner, even though he's on SmackDown. They're wearing their Gears of War gear because they're going to be in the new game, and they played that highlight from that. It looked pretty cool. And the Street Profits came out after a very fun promo that they did right before they came out. And they did this promo where it was kind of like they beatboxed the Undertaker's his themes. I thought that was really, really clever. And they brought up his matches and they did their thing where they just get excited about stuff and did the Who Wants to Smoke? You Can't Handle Smoke. And it was cool. And it was like, it was like a football team. It was like a high school football team. I liked it. It was fun. This match was a banger. This was a really, really good match. It was probably the Street Profits' best match in WWE so far. Something to be said there. And New Day wanted to elevate this. They had the time. They had the entrances. Everything was big, and they delivered. Colin, I don't know if this is the best match of the show, but am I wrong? Was this the best match you've seen from the Street Profits in some time? I'm not saying they're a bad team, but they're one of those teams where people have said, do they have that definitive match? Are they great? Are they in New Day's league? Was a good footnote I heard from fans. I feel like today New Day said, you guys are up. You guys get to ride on the big horse now.
I've really enjoyed the Street Profits for a while now. I think Montez Ford is a bona fide star in the making, and I fully expected this match to really be probably the second best match on this card, other than the main event, and that's exactly what happened. I think both matches really delivered, and this match really was terrific. I really thought both teams really brought it. It was just a really good clash of two charismatic teams, and I wish we got more of a direct kind of build for it to kind of build up more heat for it, other than Big E kind of just doing his best to build it on his own. But definitely, probably, as you said, Kevin, the best Street Profits performance in recent memory that really kind of cemented them as a legitimate team. And you see something like this, and you can't help but feel a little disappointed where the tag team division it's in trouble because they do have a real lack of depth. And so you have these two champions, and obviously I think a lot of people would want to see these teams mix it up more and more. But A, they're on different brands now. B, they're two sets of belts. And I've said it before, I want to see them unify the belts. I hope they do that at some point, as I really think it's overdue, especially given that lack of depth. So if they revisit this feud, or at least program, I should say, I'd be very happy to see that and really draw it out and actually have the teams kind of build it up. But if this is a one-off, then it was very enjoyable. Definitely my number 2 match of the night, and I see nothing but good things for the Street Profits going forward. And they definitely should have picked up when they did.
What, John, would be your number 1 match of the night? I think there is a consensus in terms of what was the best thing on this show. Undertaker send-off was fine. I don't think we can judge that. It's just a segment. You knew it was going to be on a pay-per-view. It was worthy of being on a pay-per-view. Whether or not it delivered on that worth, to be debated. But what did you think was the best match of the night? I think you and I agreed on this, and we didn't even have to talk about it. What was it?
I think the best match of the night was Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. But as
I
far as
agree.
the Street Profits and New Day match goes, I'm actually a little bit on the opposite spectrum from you two. I don't necessarily think it was that great of a match. Maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention. I guess I would argue that maybe it was the second best match of the night, but it might have been in a tie with some other matches. I don't think it was like by far second best match of the night. I do agree with Colin. We are way, way, way overdue to unify these tag team championships. And I thought, Kevin, you thought also that they were going to unify these a while ago when they first showed up to Raw as the champions, but they didn't pull the trigger then. And that was back when Cesaro and Nakamura still had them and not New Day. But, however, good match overall, but I don't know. The tag division is just so hard to get interested in right now. It is so much worse than AEW's tag division right now. They have more depth, one set of titles, more interesting matches, and it's more relevant on their show. I think WWE has work to do on these tag titles, but the best match of the night was Roman and Drew. Yes.
I think best match of the night was Roman and Drew. Drip Skylark, what a name. Drip Skylark. That sounds like a character from a comic book or something like that. Is that Drip Skylark? Roving reporter, Drip Skylark? Secret identity? He says match of the night was Sasha versus Asuka. I think the match of the night was Drew. Drew versus Roman. Roman is on another level right now. I think Roman is doing everything that people wanted out of Roman when they wanted to boo him and said that he was shoved down our throat. How much has he flipped that on you? How much has he flipped that indignation, that resentment in saying that even when you hated me, you paid to see me. I am the reason that you were all here because you want to see someone come and take me down. And that is something he will say. He will say when he gets in front of an audience. And he will get electric heat. He will get cool guy heat. He will still get the women that are losing their mind that he's not wearing a shirt anymore. He'll get that. He'll get it, you know. I still remember that, John, when we did the post show and he came out with the no shirt on and we just saw all the women with their macaroni in the pot gifts on Twitter. I was like, ladies, calm down. Okay. You act like you never, this whole show has guys with their shirts off. This one dude takes his shirt off and everyone's like, but he's the one you want. So I get it. But baby girls, calm down. It's all right. This guy is just hitting on another level. And also, it needs to be said, Drew didn't get squashed in this thing. He went through a table. He went through a barrier. He took spears. He took Superman punches. Roman was doing everything. Roman became a full-on brutal heel tonight. He is not a chicken shit heel. He is a brutal heel. The only reason I'm hitting you in the balls is because you don't know how to stay down when I tell you to stay down. The attitude, everything. This guy is a world-class heel. I never want to see Roman Reigns as a babyface ever again. He is on another level. Drew McIntyre, I don't think I need to see him as a heel again. I love him as the new modern Hulk Hogan who's larger than life, but can get beat. And he got beat tonight. This was great. These guys clicked so well. I would love to see them fight again at WrestleMania. I would love to see this rematch in front of a live audience. I want another one. When they have a match that ends and you want to see those guys fight again, this is cool. And the reversal out of the spear into a Kimura, didn't see that happening. Like they did all the things that caught you off guard with their hits, their hit songs, their hit moves that you know you're going to get. They took the WWE format, kind of flipped it on its head. The ref bump, it didn't take away from the match. It added to the end. Colin, this was a banger. This is one of the best WWE matches of the year.
Definitely. I really enjoyed it. And as you said, Kevin, I really think they made Drew look very, very strong in defeat. I think that was kind of the outcome most people saw coming. And WWE did their best to kind of protect Drew from looking any weaker. Laura Roxy and Kevin Muletas were going wild for Roman. And
Woo!
yeah, they certainly are.
Woo! Ah!
But
Dude,
I've
been at a couple of WWE shows and I've just seen women like fawn over him. I always enjoy that. I always have a weird fascination with the kid who's there with the lady's there with her kid, and they're just when he comes out, like that. I always find deep fascination with it. It's very, very funny to me. But go ahead, Colin, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
It was interesting because they had Roman as this powerful heel, and a little bit of a chicken shit heel at the end. I that's kind of how I read it, where he couldn't clinch that victory without, you know, the low blow, Jay's interference, both direct and indirect, going through, and then yeah, I thought it was a nice kind of twist to the character. I'm very glad that Roman's actually heel now. They're really like going all out with it. I have a question for you too. Is the Miz stupid for not cashing in here in universe?
Yeah, and they alluded to it on commentary right when the match started. John, was this a missed opportunity with the Miz cashing in tonight?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, when the match was over, I sat there and I was just like, okay, wait for it, wait for it. This is the
Yeah.
perfect time. He's coming out. Because look, if they really want to do something with Drew or Randy as a champion at WrestleMania, let Miz take the belt now and have it for 2 months until the Royal Rumble. It's the perfect time for that to happen. Because look, the contract is only good for 1 year. It runs out in May. If they don't do it now, when is the right time to do it? Like, it's going to expire. Could it expire for the first time ever? Like, I don't know what they're going to do, but I definitely was disappointed to see that they didn't even tease them pulling the trigger. I thought, well, maybe Miz comes out and like Jey Uso or Roman Reigns puts a stop to it or something, or who knows what. Maybe Randy Orton comes out. Where was Randy Orton? No, nowhere. You know, so there was things they could have done. The match was still good. The interference was a little, you know, that kind of took away a little bit from the quality of the match, but not really. I would like to see these two do it again, but the only problem I have with that is somebody's going to have to be on the other brain for this to happen. They're not just going to do like a, let's say, like a unification match at WrestleMania, because like that's just not going to happen. So the cards have to be lined up for this to happen again, and I don't see that happening for at least another year.
I agree. I agree. But I mean, this is the match where if people saw the end of the show and they said, the Undertaker thing, it was fine, but it didn't deliver the emotion I wanted. I wanted an angle, but I didn't get it. You can't complain about that, guys. They didn't tell you, is someone's going to attack the Undertaker on Sunday. Tune in and see. You know, like they didn't say that. They said it was his final farewell, and that's the way it was treated. And that's the way it was presented, and you got what was advertised. So, if you came in for the matches, this is the match that paid off. This was treated like a main event. This is treated like a champion versus champion showdown. Drew does not look like a loser. Roman looks like a complete ass that you want to see someone take off the mountain. He treats his family like a maniacal maniac. He's gone. He's lost. Hubris has taken over Roman Reigns, and he is on another level. I love it. I think he's the most compelling character in WWE. He says so little, but means so much with what he says. And Drew McIntyre has come into his own as the champion. I think him with the title, as much as people think it was weird that they took it off Randy Orton so soon, maybe it's just to pad him out and get to that 16 title reign thing, right? Drew is made by the title. I think he's a guy that won the title, and the title made him. And there is something fun you can do with him and Brock Lesnar down the line. Brock has a reason to come back and kick his ass, you know, and he's holding the belt with validity, you know, and I think it's valid. Whereas if Miz comes in, it won't be valid. And that's the cool thing about Miz is I'm a reality superstar that's a wrestler, even though he's a wrestler, you know. Miz has embraced that. So I do think there's a lot of great possibilities coming out of the show, but I don't think they were alluded to. I think that's the main thing with Survivor Series. We kind of hold it in that like high level of WWE shows. This is the time of year, you and I know this is hardcore people that follow, where your casual friends ask you, hey, what happened to Survivor Series? What's going on? What's going on at the Royal Rumble? Are we getting together for the Royal Rumble? Are we gonna have a watch party? Like your casual wrestling fan, this is the time of year where they start to follow it and say, all right, when is football done? I'll watch some wrestling then, and I'll wait until baseball comes back on. You know, this is that sweet spot, and you're getting to that time of year. None of that was alluded, but I think that's okay, because I think WWE's, let's do that on TV. Let's do that on television. Let's save some big moments for TV, and maybe that's what the cash-in was tonight as well. So let's get into rating this whole show. You know, we had a whole lot of Undertaker. Maybe that didn't deliver for you, but I thought the card did as well. Not the best WWE show of the year. I thought this was solid. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. If there was more matches as good as Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, I would have clipped an 8. But just I thought I was, you know, like some people, I was expecting just a little bit more, and I didn't get it. I want to give it an 8, but I was just expecting a little bit more. But still, this is really, really fun. You know, I enjoyed it. Colin, what do you give it? 1 out of 10.
We're on the exact same wavelength, Kevin. I'm going to go for a 7.5 for the exact same reasons. You know, McIntyre Reigns was great. I enjoyed the women's tag match. Asuka, Sasha was really good. The tag match was really just a great one. But it didn't quite hit it for me. And a lot of the time, these pay-per-views, I tend to kind of be biased by the end. So if I end on a high note, then I'm probably going to give it a higher number. But as I said at the start, I was not a big fan of what they did with Undertaker there. So I'll go 7.5. You know, another solid WWE show and a string of them, but not as good as I may have hoped for, especially for Survivor Series. So 7.5
John Clark,
for me.
Are we getting a 7.5, dog?
We're getting a 7.75.
Oh, come on!
Look, I gave SmackDown a 7.5, dog, but I just think it was a little. I think it was a little better than a 7.5. I gave it a 7.75, almost an 8. I mean, it's a Big Four pay-per-view. Even though people like to say Money in the Bank's the new fourth of the Big Four, this is still the number 4 of the Big Four. It's an all-star affair. It was pretty good, all around good matches. Maybe lack of storytelling, but I thought that overall it was a pretty good match, pretty good event. I mean, and I will definitely be interested to see how they build off of it. But it wasn't something that I came out of the night thinking, well, now I don't want to watch Raw, because I do want to watch Raw and see what happens from this show.
Thank you to Babs J, watching from Ghana, West Africa, worldwide, baby, here on WrestleZone. Thank you for checking out the show, dude. What is the scoreline? We're rating this week's Survivor Series pay-per-view that just aired. So if you haven't watched the show yet, seek it out. And maybe you watch. I know sometimes people will watch our post shows and say, like, is this so any good? The matches I would say seek out are definitely Sasha versus Asuka. That was really cool. The women's elimination I keep doing that. Elimination match. But Drew versus Roman was fantastic. Like, I felt like if that was on a WrestleMania, you would be like, that's a great WrestleMania match. I think we have to get our head around that too, because this is the Thunderdome. There's no fans, and it's all superimposed. Like when people were yelling, "Thank you, Taker," you're just like, I wish it was a real crowd doing that. You know, like I heard plenty of comments here. It's like, this is wrong. They should have done it with a crowd. You can't do it with a crowd. But definitely here. Let's move ahead here. We did get some big news here, guys, as we look ahead at the WWE calendar. WWE confirming this on Friday. John, you and I covered it earlier in the week. We saw this kind of coming ahead of time here. It's official. WWE moving to Tropicana Field, home of the Major League Baseball Devil Rays. They could be in there. Rays. I've heard some people complain about that. I'm sorry. They're Devil Rays. Started as Devil Rays, you're Devil Rays. But they're moving there, and we don't know what the scale of the Thunderdome will be in there. I've been trying to talk to some people in the Tampa Bay area, and they say they know some people that work for the field, and they say it's likely they won't use the whole field. You won't see the whole field the way it's set up there. But one thing they do say about it is it can be really easy for people to get in and out of there, and in terms of space. So the possibility of WWE having fans at a show is increased. Obviously, you're in a stadium. You can get over 39,000 people in there. So I don't think they're going to do that. But if you go in there and you say, hey, let's get 5,000 people in there, 5,000 people in there may not feel like a big crowd. Colin, what do you think of this Thunderdome moving to Major League Baseball Stadium Tropicana Field, which used to be called the Thunderdome?
That's very ironic. Nice little full circle thing there. I think that, as you just said, that might be a pretty promising path forward, where they could have some fans when it's safe to do so, when they can space them out. And, you know, I think it's obviously kind of a hard, you know, is it safe? Is it not? You know, especially with things being the way they are right now. I think it's a good opportunity regardless, having it in this big stadium either way. We knew that the Thunderdome in its current residency was coming to an end. So Tropicana Field's probably the best, you know, Thunderdome 2 of sorts that they could hope for. So I'm excited, and especially if they decide to make any changes to the Thunderdome, if they make any cosmetic changes or anything like that, that's something worth you know, keeping an eye out for. But at the very least, you do have that potential, increased potential for some fans down at some point in the near future. So if anything, that's pretty exciting for that reason alone.
John Clark, I know you've been itching to go to a show. I know you told me if it's a possibility that you can get a ticket to the Royal Rumble, you're on a plane. You're going there from Central PA. You're going to be at this show. I think there's other fans that'll wait, see what happens, wait for that vaccine. Obviously, WWE is going to do some things with a limited controlled audience. They're doing it already. The Capitol Wrestling Center is that right now. I do think that is WWE's testing protocol. Can we control an audience and test them as they come into the show? That's what you're getting there. Raw is expected to have a broadcast in there in December as they kind of make the transition to Tropicana Field. But what do you think? You get on the plane, you're going to go to Royal Rumble if you can.
100% absolutely yes. If there are general public tickets available, you will see me there, and I will be there. I think it's very possible in Tropicana Field. I believe it's very likely in Tropicana Field only for the Royal Rumble. Now, for any other shows, I think they'll make an exception for this one show, possibly move it to a different area if they have to. But we talked about this all the time, how it's changing depending on the conditions of the world and all that stuff. However, in this moment in time, right now, as we sit here talking about it, I do think there's like a 75 to 80% chance that there are at least some fans there at the show. And if there is a 99.9% chance that I am one of them.
You make it think those are going to be hard tickets to get, man. You make it think look, this could be limited tickets. They're not going to be selling 39,000 tickets.
Look,
you know,
I have the experience on Ticketmaster and StubHub that if tickets
this,
are
Colin.
available to the general public, I will have one. And I have enough of Ticketmaster and StubHub credit saved up that I can afford one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were one of the smart guys that said, like, all right, I bought tickets to stuff. They can't give it to me, so I'm going to keep my credit. Now, I bought tickets for Robert DeFelice from WrestleZone as well. I won't plug his other website. He's not here. And so him and I were going to go to WrestleMania, and obviously that didn't happen. And I remember finding out while I was like sleeping at the radio station I work for. I had to stay there overnight to keep us on air when the pandemic started. It was a very, very weird time. And I remember just getting the email, like, your event has been is currently postponed. Like there was no hiatus. That's how I found out. I was like, all right, okay, this is gonna get that bad. Like it was like my realization that like, oh yeah, I'm staying in this building overnight where I work because we can't have people here. That should be enough of a realization. But I think enough of us are in this space where if there isn't a crowd for Thunderdome, we're ready for it. If there is this transitional time where WWE does this as a way for how do we keep our fans distant? How do we do this at the scale that we want to do it? How do we look at what New Japan has been doing, where they've had thousands of fans at their events, and they will have 20,000 fans at Wrestle Kingdom? How do we look at what AEW is doing in Jacksonville and apply it to the scale of the event that we want to do? I think that'll be interesting. And I think WWE will be in a very, very good position on the other side of this. I think they'll be able to play markets they haven't played in a long time. I think internationally there'll be a demand for them, but we just need to be patient. I also think moving WrestleMania back 6 weeks is a great idea. If you can get an extra 15,000 seats. I also say this. I don't think WrestleMania is going to be in a full stadium this year. I think it'll be in front of a crowd. I'm hopeful of that. Will it be a controlled audience? It's tested, and you don't buy tickets, and all right, you can buy tickets, but we're going to tell you who can buy tickets. You know, there's a possibility of all those things happening, guys. It's still very wide open. So I think people just need to be patient and know that the vaccines are coming and the light is on the other side of the tunnel, and just be smart. I know the winter's going to be really crazy. Just be smart and get tested and do all the things you got to do and wear your mask. It's redundant, but it shouldn't be, because I think we're impatient, especially here in America. We're really impatient. That's why things are so bad here, and we're so indulged with everything we get to do. I think that's where we are. Not political, but just how it is. A lot of people with different comments coming in here. When is Cena coming back? I don't know when John Cena's coming back. Maybe if he wasn't going to come back tonight, that would have been a moment to come back, wouldn't it? We did see him in that video package, looking like a much more older, regal version of himself. Other people saying, will the Undertaker be inducted in the Hall of Fame? Yeah. I don't know if it'll be this year. We still owe all those inductions to the people that didn't go in. Speaking of those inductions to people that didn't go in, news breaking over the weekend. Want to get this on because this certainly aggravates people. The Bella Twins, they are still busy with their podcast. The Bella Twins have said eventually they will be back with WWE. Eventually is a way of putting it, since enough people are asking about it. Colin, you've seen it. John, you've seen it. Dudes want to get real angry because they just don't like how popular the Bella Twins are. And they just don't think the Bella Twins deserve the notoriety and galvanizing audience that they have created for themselves. But I would say, in terms of female acts in WWE, they are over. They are very, very over. What say you about a Bella Twins comeback, Colin?
Well, what's the saying? They're over like Rover. You know, I I fully respect the Bella Twins for their popularity, for their success of Total Divas, Total Bellas, their podcasts, everything they've got going for them. You know, it's great. It's good for them, and for that reason, I think it's good for WWE if they come back, even on a short-term thing, to have that mainstream-esque or attraction. You get in some casual fans that just want to see the Bella Twins. Great. Will I be excited when they come back? Not necessarily. Will I be happy? No. But I can respect what they've done, and both in and out of the WWE. So it's a good thing overall, and I think it's good for the business, for lack of a better word. But I maybe not as negative as some of those other people that you just mentioned, Kevin. But I'm definitely not, looking forward to it in my own perspective.
Looking at the consensus outside of our stream tonight, over on @WrestleZone.com on Twitter, we asked people, did you enjoy Survivor Series 2020? Final results just flowing in right now. And this is we're looking at a few hundred votes here. 69% of people said, yeah, I popped. 31% said, no, I tapped out. So people tend to enjoy tonight's Survivor Series. I feel it really turned a corner in the second hour of the show. Once the Street Profits got in there, I thought that was just a banger match. I thought Drew and Roman were fantastic. The Undertaker segment was definitely epic. It felt bigger than just another Undertaker entrance, but the speech could have been so much more. And I also think people just expected an angle. Like someone's going to come out and they're going to do an angle, and I do think he'll get another farewell in front of the live audience. I do think, and he deserves it. I think anyone gets mad about that. They do another one. I was like, the Undertaker, and he couldn't do it before because you couldn't have people in a crowd. So that's it. All right, guys, if they want to follow you on Twitter, tell them when you're on the WrestleZone news desk. Tell them what you're doing. Go ahead, John Clark. Your plug time is now.
Sunday mornings, WrestleZone.com, Twitter, John R. Clark 12.
There you go.
And right here, Monday, Wednesday nights.
Yeah. So, and definitely if you enjoy John's very steady, very cool hand to my ridiculous wave my hands in the air like I'm Kermit the Frog, then you'll appreciate that. Like that's it. He just does this. He just throws the dust on you. Colin, you are busy with the Smackdown Double Down every
Correct.
Friday night. The most watched wrestling show of the week. You get to handle it. I don't know how that turned out. I'm just hammering the nail, 6 days a week. And then you get to just walk in. Get to walk in and shoot the 3-pointer there on Fridays. But no, Colin, what's going on with you? Where can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at Twitter at CT_2110. And as for my work here, when John's done on Sundays, I make the hot tag for Sunday evenings and Sunday nights. I work Monday nights for Raw coverage. I do Tuesday mornings, Wednesday mornings, Thursday afternoons, and then come back Friday for the SmackDown Double Down. So I'm always here working hard and having a great time.
Absolutely here. Thank you guys so much for watching the show. A lot of people checking this out for the first time. If you haven't, subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Same thing over on Facebook. You just need to follow our page to get those notifications. You can also see a set reminder thing. So when you see our video saying, hey, they're going to be doing a post show after Raw and Raw isn't over yet, set a reminder so then you know exactly when we go live and you can jump into the chat. Or, hey, you know what? I got to do something or I want to watch something else. I get it. There's a ton of content for you to take in. Why don't you put us in your ears? Search the WrestleZone podcast. You'll get all of the wrap-ups and post-shows we do every single week, plus additional interviews. We just did an interview this week with the Young Bucks, the AEW Tag Team Champions. We also have an interview in there with MLW's Filthy Tom Lawler. If you go through our archives, we have interviews from last year, Survivor Series week. This is who I interviewed last year at Survivor Series week when I could actually be in a room with people. Seth Rollins, him calling out CM Punk. That interview, I got to watch a little bit of that again the other day. What a throwback. That was an awesome interview. That same week, talked to Lacey Evans in character. She insults me. It's very entertaining. All right. John Moxley, Chris Jericho from AEW, all in 1 week. So you guys can check out those interviews. Tons of stuff in the archives for you guys to check out. Not just, I watched Raw last week. I don't care. Tons of interviews. We also have the AEW Dynamite specific show every Friday. It's called Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes. The D'Angelo brothers doing that. And we're doing some cool stuff with independent wrestlers in the future. We have a new initiative with that's coming out in a few weeks. I saw some of the artwork for it tonight. Looks pretty cool. We'll tell you about that in a little bit, but just keep your eye on the feed. It's well worth it. There's tons of different options, different podcasts you can listen to. So the fact that you spent some time with us, it means something. we're all guys that we're all in different parts of the country. We're dealing with a lot of the same things you do. And this is one of multiple jobs that all of us have. So the fact that you spend time with a real passion project we have like WrestleZone, a website that's been around since 1997, it's pretty rad. All right. I mean that. I say it. And on behalf of everybody else, we appreciate you guys so much. We hope you're safe. We hope you have a great holiday season, even if it's on Zoom. All right. Throw back a couple more champagnes for your grandpa if you can't give him a hug. All right. We'll see you guys. Remember, when watching wrestling, Colin, here we go. All right. I'm going to throw the ball out to you. Hail Mary. Let's see if he can do this, John. All right. Here we go. Setting him up. All right. All right, John, we're going to do the doomsday device. You're going to put them on your shoulders. Okay. All right. Colin, when watching wrestling,